In these next problems, we're actually going to be factoring out a group of something instead of just one thing. So I'm factoring out, in this case, if I look at this problem, the part that repeats is actually the GCF. And so that's the part that we have to factor out. Now, to make this a little bit easier to understand, I'm going to replace the parenthesis parts with a capital A instead. So I'm going to do that for each one. So I have X times big letter A minus 16 times big letter A. So all I did was replace the parenthesis parts with a capital A. So if this was the problem that we had and we had to factor that, the part that is repeated here is going to be the big letter A. That's our GCF. So if I were to factor that out, this is what I would have left over. You would take this first term, divide by a capital A to get the X, and then you would take the second one, negative 16A, divide that by capital letter A, and you get a minus 16. So then if you were to multiply this back through, you would get the same thing you started with. Big letter A times X, and then minus 16 times big letter A. So we're going to come back to the problem that we have here. It's going to look exactly the same as what we just did, except that the big letter A is going to get replaced with X plus 19. So X plus 19 we have there, and then we have the X minus 16, and that would be fully factored. If we multiply it back through, you would have X times this group, the first term, then you have minus 16 times that whole group, and you would get that. So therefore, that would be fully factored, and this here, that would be your answer. Now, for the problem that's next here, I have 8x times 2x plus 5, but then I don't have another number there like I had up here. But there really is a number in front of that. There's actually a 1 that comes in front. So I have 8x times the 2x plus 5, and then I have a 1 times 2x plus 5. So it becomes a similar problem that we had before. If we did the same thing with the big letter A's, I would have 8x times big letter A, and then I would have plus a 1 times big letter A, just like I have here. So I'm just basically replacing the 2x plus 5 with big letter A. And if I factor that part out, it would look like this. I have big letter A out front, and then I would have everything else left over, 8x plus 1. That's exactly what I'm going to have here. I have 2x plus 5 would be my big letter A, and then I would have 8x plus 1 left over. If we were to multiply this out, you would have 8x times this whole thing, which is the first term, and then you'd have a 1 times the 2x plus 5, which is also what I have there. So again, this would be considered fully factored. Now, this next problem is different from the ones that we've just done above, but we're going to do it a similar way. The x plus 5, I'm going to replace that with a capital A. And if I had that, it would look like this. Capital letter A squared minus 11, and then capital letter A. So I just replace the x plus 5 with the capital letter A. Now, if I factor that part out, the one that repeats here, I could pull out the smallest power of A. So I'll have a capital letter A there. Now, if I take A squared divided by A, I'll get 1A left over inside there. And then I have minus 11. So that's what that would look like if I factor out a capital letter A. So I'm just now going to put x plus 5 back in for each of these to get my answer. So I have a x plus 5, which is the capital letter A there. And then I'm going to put x plus 5 inside here, but I still have the minus 11 inside there as well. So it looks just like this, except I just replaced the capital letter A with x plus 5 in each place. We're almost done. We do have this part inside parentheses that can be simplified further. And so we will do that next. I have a plus 5 minus 11. That's going to be x minus 6. So now this part here, that would be considered fully factored.